All right, good evening, everyone. We are on attempt number 2. Now, I'm just going to take a quick second here and get my couple of details out of the way. I'm sorry to have to go over the introductions again. I have no idea when I'm going to return to equilibrium in terms of the start times. I am feeling a bit sick today, so I should be able to see things through to the end, but I do also need to. I've got a cup of tea to try and keep me in shape. Okay, I need a second here because I think I am in danger of losing some streams. So I apologize. There's going to be a little bit of maintenance. While I work this out. But if I don't do this now, it's possible I lose those videos forever. So, but the plan is we are going to be returning to Old World tonight. Now, my plan, and I want to see whether or not this actually survives contact with reality, but the plan would be to actually pick up from Heroes of the Aegean, which was the first DLC for the game, if I recall correctly. That was the one that came out when Old World stopped being an Epic exclusive. Sorry about the fragmented comments, but I'm trying. What I'm doing here is I just got a notification that there's a bunch of videos which are about to expire. And my experience with those has been that if I don't deal with them right away, interesting. Yeah, if I don't deal with those right away, what tends to happen is I get an alert saying that the video has failed well after, oh, for heaven's sake. Okay, I think we'll be able to manage with these. But yeah, anyways, what tends to happen is I get a notification saying the video failed, but it's kind of too late. The videos are already gone. So I've learned, even if it's inconvenient, even if it makes me seem like a little bit of a clown when starting a broadcast, I would rather deal with those when they come up, check my notifications when while the broadcast is going by, and if there's a problem, deal with it at the time. So, Here's the Aegean, if I recall correctly, was the first DLC available for Old World. It was it introduced a number of things, but one of the things that I think was quite memorable about it was a set of scenarios sort of built around the theme. Quite a bit has changed in this game since we played it last, incidentally. And I would like to take a minute and make sure that we've got the streamer audio. Okay. But yeah, so there are basically I liked this, but there's a couple of things that happened with Heroes of the Aegean. So we went through Rise of Carthage. I'll confess, Seizing Destiny sort of did me in. I do need to get back to trying that. I can't remember if we've done all the learning by playing. Looks like we have, although I actually don't remember doing Rome the Strong. But yeah, so we did Battle of Marathon on land and sea and ending the invasion. Now, I think this one I struggled a little bit with the fleet. But what I think was most interesting for me here was that with the first two, I sort of eventually figured it out. Whereas Rise of Macedon, I actually found that was one which I really sort of just blew it with. And it was one where I wound up feeling quite overwhelmed by the AI, something that I have felt in other contexts as well. But there's a couple of things that have changed. So there's sort of some push factors and some pull factors in terms of taking on this particular scenario. So I feel that through subsequent playthroughs, I've gotten a bit more comfortable with the fact that Old World is a bit more of a war-ish kind of game than maybe I was treating it originally. And the funny thing is that I have actually played Old World for quite a while, but it's also fair to say that it's one where I don't think it's appropriate for me to say that I forget, but I definitely fall back to maybe some habits that I get from Civilization, and that is actually a way to get really tripped up playing this. Now, they have changed the Rise of Macedon scenario. I believe they've made it a bit easier as well. So I've got basically, I'm a little bit better at the game, but I've also forgotten some of the game, and they made the scenario a little bit easier. But, there's going to be a bunch of different things going on. But I think out of everything that I would like to do, it's fun to start a new, a new just standard single-player game. But I'd actually really like to see more of Heroes of the Aegean, especially because I did like the Rise of Carthage campaign. And I know Heroes of the Aegean sort of went even further with these things. So I think that's going to be where we take it. And if it, if it works out, we'll spend a bit more time with Old World. And if it doesn't, well, we'll figure out, maybe there's another way that I can play Old World that works a bit better for me, or we can move on to other things. But I do really like Mohawk's games. Maybe one day I'll try Off-World Trading Company on stream again. I just know usually when I get a signal that a game is going to be one that creates problems for me streaming, I usually just should take that signal. But I don't know. I think it's worth trying again, especially because I think a number of you would like to play it. Oswin, wonderful to see you. And Cured, good evening. Can't stick around tonight. You've got an inspection coming up, and you got to deep clean everything. I appreciate you nonetheless, Cured. Good luck with the inspection. I hope everything's doing well on your end, but we will catch up one way or another. And I hope, if nothing else, I hope the day isn't too tough on you. And Oswin Meow, it is wonderful to see you. And Ellen Ripley, I know we've occasionally exchanged messages on Discord and that. I'm very happy to see you. We have been doing some more Cyberpunk on Fridays, but I've been sitting on some stock story. I mean, you kind of know a little bit of the stock stories, but very, very happy to see you as well. You'll stop by for the Friday Steam for sure, given you do go low. Yes, I do. So I'll be late, and obviously I've been late the last little while, but my intention is always to always stream when I say I'm going to stream, unless I am outright sick or the technology does not allow it, i.e. there's a power out. My intention is always to stream, on the days I say I will stream, even if it means I have to go a little bit later. So I wanted to take a quick minute. I know we don't have a whole lot of people here, but I did want to take a minute here and give a quick shout out to Oswin Meow. Oswin is one of these... So first of all, very fun to chat with, just in general. I think some of you have seen that inside of chat already. But actually, as a broadcaster in their own right, and I was having a great time watching her play Disco Elysium. But lately, it's been I believe it's been Helldivers 2, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Helldivers, the first one, is a top-down game. Now, I didn't really... I knew of Helldivers 2 because it's the new thing, right? But it wasn't one that I was putting too much attention to. But Oswin Meow, it was playing it with a couple of people who actually have visited the broadcast, but they have very good rapport as a group. And I don't know, it was a lot of fun. I've actually wishlisted Helldivers as a result of those broadcasts. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a stream that I've been I consider myself very lucky to have been checking out. and I would encourage you all to maybe take a peek. I actually also got to see Oswin at Vesper Fortune's little lecture on the Satanic Panic. So I don't know, for those of you that want to know a little bit about this constellation of broadcasters that are showing up around here. I had to miss a little bit of it, but I'm glad. Like, this is the thing, right? Like, I do like to shout people out, because the thing is that any broadcaster is going to want to have an opportunity to entertain you, right? And it's not always going to work for everyone. Not everyone is going to do something that appeals to everyone, and I don't even necessarily think that the kinds of entertainment that are designed to appeal to everyone necessarily succeed at that. Like, sometimes you want stuff to be weird, and I mean, we were talking about David Lynch, for crying out loud. I think that's a perfect example. David Lynch is clearly not intended to appeal to everyone, but if you like that sort of thing, it really works. Yeah, it's nice, when you recommend someone, that someone gets a chance, when you see someone actually getting a chance to experience it and they like it, that always feels a bit rewarding, right? The same reason why, if you play a game that you really enjoy and you you show, I don't know, if you play a game you really like and somebody winds up picking it up and saying, hey, I really love this thing, that just feels good. Even though it's not your game, it's just nice to connect people with things that they enjoy. So, while I am filibustering the start for Old World, and it's not going to be too much longer, I thought I'd share a couple of fun little details from today, which made me, because I'm really worn out today. But and yeah, Ellen Ripley, sorry, I my apologies if any of that seems like a why aren't you messaging? I kind of gathered that you are buried under under a ton of work. I hope everything is okay. But needless to say, I'm sure we'll have some stories to catch up on when you're free. But I do hope things calm down for you, because I know you live in an interesting place, let's say. All right, so I wound up having a bunch of books come in the mail. So a couple more mainstream ones, but I got Job's going interesting. Job is basically already at 11 in terms of the stuff that we're doing, which is exciting and terrifying to be at. But I mean, I didn't sign up for that place to be to have it easy. So overall it's good. But yeah, so this is going to sound so corny, but this actually really bright, because I was feeling kind of the effects of just having a full day and feeling kind of worn, feeling kind of worn out. But I was dropping off a book at the library. I'm always overdue at the library. And like I said, this is just going to sound like borderline made up. There's actually a mom and her kid going to the library, and the kid, I didn't actually quite realize, because it's people on the sidewalk, right? But the kid was like really jumping and exciting, and I realized that they were like jumping and skipping because they were going to the library, and I'm like, this is the one thing that warms my heart. I did work at a bookstore for a very brief period of time, and I know one of the things that is true about bookstores is that one of the sort of profit centers is the kids section, right? Because like every parent wants their kid to read. And it's funny because if you look at like the square footage dedicated to things that are not the kids section, you'd almost not think that the kids section is a real moneymaker. But so far as I can tell, that is true for like almost every bookstore. So even though there might be, all the grown-up books on the shelves, for the most part, the grown-ups are going into the store so that they can buy books for the kids. And it's kind of funny because like whenever I actually really like seeing kids excited for the library. I like seeing adults excited for the library, frankly, but adults, for whatever reason, do not. Hello, Mecha Paladin. Phantom Brigade's back on Wednesdays, by the way. Adults apparently don't think it's cool to have their excitement for the library physically manifest. But there is something kind of funny, right? Like I really love reading, but it actually reminded me that even though I really like reading, I don't know if I still have that like kid going to the library level of excitement towards reading. So I don't know. That was just a nice little moment that will probably only ever mean something to me. But I do remember. It's hard, right? I don't want to like kind of be spammy with people, but I do try to remember what people are interested in, and when I'm back to it, to somehow find a way to let them know, or at least mention it when it comes up. But yeah, no, I'm happy that I got a chance to tell you. But in terms of my own excitement, I was really worried that this thing was lost, because I got a notification that it was delivered on like Thursday or Friday, and I had to go into work on Friday. There's just a bunch of stuff that needs to be done, and needs to be done well, and needs to be done fast. So like, you know how everybody's like, you know, you can have it done, you know, cheap, you can have it done fast, you can have it done, what is it, cheap, fast, or good? It's like pick two. No, you need to do all three, and it better be like no excuses. So yeah, Friday I went in when I was originally expecting to be at home. But the funny thing is that like, I'm sure at the old place I would have been like really pissed off about that, and in this place I'm like, yes, I am, you know, we have to kick ass, and that is just what we do here. So I don't know, I'm sure I'll get cynical later. But anyway, so I got this delivery notification, but it was not delivered. But there was a, you know, slip for, okay, pick it up at the post office. Now, normally they don't say it's delivered. Normally it says it's ready for pickup. So I finally made it to the post office on Saturday evening, and they basically say, no, they don't drop things off on Saturday. You can't get it. I'm like, can you at least check, right? Like, this thing should not, I'm just thinking to myself, it should not say delivered. I'm just trying to find out if there is physically something there, because if not, I need to talk to the shipper to get this somewhat expensive book back. Anyways, all that said, another book I had ordered came in, so I picked that up on my way to work. This one, I left work a little early because I came in on the Friday. I did get it. I was happy to get it. I saw the clerk have a little difficulty finding it. Like, they kept looking at the monitor, their computer monitor. I'm like, oh my God, I am going to lose it if this doesn't turn out. But this book is British Security Coordination: The Secret History of British Intelligence in the Americas, 1940 to 1945. This book, basically, if they put this in an Assassin's Creed game, you might say, okay, that's a bit much. This thing is crazy. I am so happy I've got this. So the stress was worth it. Yeah, God, I don't even know. Like, obviously there's the secret history component, which has resonance to some of the stuff that we've been playing in the on the stream lately, but this is good stuff. If you want an idea, so first of all, you can just look up the title and you'll get an idea about what it is, or you could just look up British Security Coordination, or you can look up William Stevenson. Any of those things are going to take you down a crazy rabbit hole. Oh, you better believe it, Kieran. All right, Mecha Paladin, you are emerging, from your recovery. I'm not sure how much you remember, but it was rough. Couldn't give you a play-by-play, Mecha Paladin, but I am glad you are emerging. If you want to fill me in on the most important details, I will happily listen. Well, maybe not happily listen, because obviously that involves hardship for you. But I do apologize. I am drawing a few blanks. If it's something you want to talk about, definitely we can. But I am glad that you are here, and I hope you are feeling much better. And I guess we're 15, 20 minutes in. Let's go to the Rise of Macedon. So three levels: Demosthenes, Pericles, or Alexander. I'm not ready to go Alexander. And this is... I feel that for the qualities of my broadcast, I probably should be going for Demosthenes. I realize that is exalted company to be putting myself in, but then again, I'm no Pericles either, so... the orator who lost, maybe, is the way to rank me. Okay, yes. So I maybe remembered a little more. I don't know. It just seems like one of those things I don't want to guess incorrectly. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that hopefully. I know a game can't replace any of the stuff that you've been going through, but I do hope a chance to catch up over a favorite will give you a little bit of a perk. All right, in 359, of course that would be Wednesday. We're Old World tonight. Here's the Aegean: Rise of Macedon, building a hegemony. In 359 BC, Philip II would become king of Macedonia, a smaller kingdom in the northeastern part of Greece. Philip took power at a difficult time. Macedonia was getting raided by its neighbors and could not compare to the power of the cities like Thebes or Athens. Philip proved to be a skilled diplomat and a brilliant general, reforming his army into a dominant force that he used together with political marriages to greatly expand Macedonia and eventually dominate affairs in Greece. You begin the scenario as the newly crowned King Philip, facing hostile raids and a weak economy. Using diplomacy and warfare, you will greatly expand your territory and see famous characters join your court. All right. So we sort of died before we could create the empire for Alexander to inherit. So we are going to do our best not to do a repeat of that. All right, you have started a goal: agree to a truce with the Thracians or take their cities. The new king. You are King Philip the Warrior of Macedonia, and you represent the great Argead dynasty. In your teenage years, you were held hostage by the Illyrians and later by Thebes. While in Thebes, you were in the care of Pamenes, a Theban general who was both your tutor and lover. 5 years ago, you returned to Macedonia. Now your elder brother, Perdiccas, sorry, I'm still not any better with my pronunciations, has fallen while campaigning in Illyria, and you become regent per his wishes. Your nephew, Amyntas, is meant to take the throne, but he is just a small child, and you have no intention of letting him rule. Having declared yourself the one and only king of Macedonia at the age of 23, it falls upon you to secure the kingdom. Thracians have long been raiding our lands and pose the most immediate threat, as another of their raids is ongoing. We are also facing some Theban mercenaries, but fortunately our relations with Thebes and Athens are now formally peaceful. Thus, the first decision of your rule shall be how to deal with the Thracians. So, we must have peace to rebuild, or Macedonia will not humiliate itself by bribing barbarians. There will not be peace in our time. All right. So just so I can be clear, so yes, the Thracians are a tribe. They currently count as weaker than us. Now that's not like a contract. This could actually wind up going poorly. But let's clear out the baddies. Okay. For Aigai, I think it's... So we have a slight improvement in terms of science, but I'm willing to trade out a little bit of science for the gold, the wealth. And I don't think I'm quite ready to spend things for Philip or the ambassador. I think right now I want to start clearing out the bad guys. Okay, let's take a look at... Okay, so one of the things for those of you, I'm gonna need a little bit of kind of familiarity or refamiliarizing with the game. One thing that's very nice about this game, and I think the game John Schaefer's At the Gates did this as well, is if you hold down the shift key, you can sort of have these nested tooltips. So in this case here, so as general, if leader, 100% if flanking. Flanking occurs when attacking an enemy unit with a friendly unit on the opposite side. For example, if you are attacking from a tile west of a target, you must have another unit to its east. So one thing I might want to do is say, okay, is it possible for me to get here? Technically, yes. But it's probably more realistic for me to be able to flank the unit this way. So if we do something like this... Nope, I'm already out of orders, so we're gonna undo both of those. I think we're gonna have to go after them the old-fashioned way. Unbelievable. I am going to pay up for the attack. Okay, now one of the challenges that I ran into in the previous run was I think I spent a little too much on my infrastructure. Now, I don't want to completely ignore it, but I do also want to make sure that we're able to sort of... Like, essentially, I want to make sure that we're able to sort of roll over the enemy. We want to make sure that we have a strong military, but I don't want the economy to collapse. So one thing that's happening right now is I'm using up all of my orders. I can't improve anything. So I will take the time to invest. In particular, I'll go for a treasury here. But over time, I'm going to be switching to military units. So we'll start with the treasury. We'll probably do the same in Pella. I mean, the Stonecutter's tempting, but... Yeah, I think we'll get the treasury in better shape. Alright, now I was hoping we could avoid that. These are actually a really... This is something tough for us to deal with here because they're in a position to... Ooh. Ambassador Simon has no patience for different ways of life. He is intolerant. Western expansion. To our west and northwest lies Illyria. The various tribes of the Dardanians and Illyrians have long been an enemy of Macedonia, ever since King Bardalus united the tribes of Illyria. Just 3 decades ago, they were much stronger than Macedonia. Your father, Amantis, had tried to repel repeated invasions by Bardalus but failed and was forced to pay them a tribute. A year ago, Bardalus personally killed your elder brother in battle. By marrying Queen Consort Odata, you have been able to appease Bardalus, and there has been no fighting since your brother fell. You know that even though Bardalus is a very old man now, Illyria will be a threat to you as it was your father and your brother. So the only possible course of action is to strike back once you are able to. Macedonia must strike Illyria and settle the lands from which so many damaging raids begun. We'll make Illyrian lands our own. Settle cities in place of 2 Illyrian camps. Optional. I do want to do that. Hello, Sulfia. How are you doing today? For those of you who do not know, we were talking about Oswin Meow. And now we will talk briefly about Sulfea, who's playing something that was not my time at Sandrock, and then I promptly fell asleep as soon as I tuned into the channel. How are you doing tonight? And for those of you who want more arguments for watching Sulfea, Sulfea is Australian, so there you go. It's reason enough. Alright, so we'll take that. I'm going to try and take advantage of the flanking ability here, so although I am slightly worried about the damage. Alright. I think I'm going to lose this unit, actually. Okay, so I really don't have any good answers in terms of what I can do against these units. I'm just going to try and tempt them to get their attention off of the city and somewhere else. Next up, I don't really need food right now, so the question is what can I put down? The extra mines is kind of tempting, actually. Okay. Stone would also be good, but I need to figure out a place where I can put another quarry. Okay. I don't think it would be bad for me to invest in the military early on. Well, now I am curious to see if this unit survives or not. I mean, I've already seen that Mad Max documentary. I know that the Australians are not to be trifled with. Okay, so that more or less turned out the way I thought it would. Now, the game's recommending that we go for an Axeman. A little early for me to go for the Civics boost, I think. Yeah, I think the axes are the way to go here. Okay, so we need to pull right back for this unit and let them heal. I think probably dealing with the raid is my best option here. It does mean that we're exposed to the Thracians, but I mean, I have to pick what challenge I'm dealing with. And again, I have a little more life in the archer here, so right now we're just trying to buy some time for Agai while we clean up domestic affairs. Okay, so our ambassador. Demosthenes doesn't hate us, but it is a lot to spend. King Philip, on the other hand, I thought there were more options for the ruler. I think we're just going to leave that be. So in this case, we have more orders than I thought, which means that I should be investing more in the military. So this is just creating all sorts of problems in Agai in terms of the discontentment, but keen to indulge in pleasures of the flesh, oligarch Lanaik the Younger, governor of Pella, is wanton. Barbarians at the gate. Thracian incursions have the military on high alert. Your advisors suggest that you muster additional militias to secure the borders. However, supplies are low, and those resources may be better spent on building defenses. So we can muster additional militias. We get 2 militia in Pella, or we can strengthen our defenses. I definitely prefer the walls. Okay, so there's a couple things that I can do to make things work a little bit better for me. So one is not only do we get to use the archers, but I think we get an insta-kill. And here, I get to bring in some reinforcements while we work on the others. The other thing that's nice here is that this is going to tie up the unit so they can't just go marauding through my territory the same way. Oh, sure, Selphea, this is called Old World. This is a wonderful 4X game by Mohawk. So Mohawk Games is a company that was founded by Soren Johnson. And I believe Layla Johnson did not officially start with Mohawk, but is now, I don't know if it's CEO or studio head. Anyways, I feel Soren is reasonably well known among 4X aficionados as the lead designer of Civilization 4. Certainly not the only game he's worked on, but probably the one that he's best known for. But of course, it's worth remembering that there are a lot of people who work on these games. There's a lot of very interesting people who work on these games. But the reason why I introduced, first of all, I just happen to like the company. They did a wonderful economic RTS called Off-World Trading Company. But what makes Old World quite special, it started off as a game called 10 Crowns. And if you like GDC talks, you can actually hear sort of the lead designer, this is Soren Johnson, talk about this idea of sort of the ideas that you inherit from genres, and sometimes, you know, maybe the benefit of questioning some of those or imagining different, imagine doing things differently. And this essentially, this is the best description of Old World. It's essentially, if somebody had to invent the 4X genre today, what would it look like? And the answer is probably something like Old World. Yes, I bought that day one. I will almost certainly always buy a Civilization game day one. But yes, if any of you are interested, you can get a very, very good deal on Civilization. So anyways, that's the simplest answer that I can give to you, is that it is a game that does not necessarily take the conventions of the 4X genre for granted. It doesn't mean that it abandons them, but it does sort of try to make them earn their place. And it results in this very, very interesting combination of things. So one thing I do admire about the game quite a bit, and I think this is one of the reasons why I wanted to take the time to mention Layla Johnson, because I believe this is something that she put quite a bit of effort into, is that this game will have sort of a story element to it. There are these sort of trees that your character can go down. And, or maybe it's better, I don't know, trees, deck of cards, however you want to think about it. But some people say it's sort of like Crusader Kings meets Civ, and I don't think it's unfair to put it that way. The 10 Crowns, I believe, was originally supposed to be sort of 10 generations of rulers, and I don't think the game ultimately wound up working that way. But what has stayed is this idea of moving from sort of the social planner of civilization and moving a little bit more to this place where there is a kingdom that needs to be managed, and there are going to be interests within that kingdom, potentially very powerful ones, that also need to have their attention, that demand your attention and want to have sort of their things handled. So in this case, we have the Argead family. Now, right now they like us, but we are going to want to make sure that we continue to stay on good terms with them. And likewise, maybe not so true for this scenario, but generally the old world you find yourself in is that you are a new empire, or maybe aspiring empire, in a world with established powers. So even the tribes will usually be more powerful than you, and you may wind up sort of having to pay tribute. And in this case here, there's sort of what I kind of like about it is there is that discovery that comes from the opening of the Civilization games, but it's a very different kind of discovery. It's not that everything is brand new and you're setting up your first the first cities ever. What you are is a new arrival in a world which might have very different ideas of where it should go, and you sort of need to earn your place in terms of being able to accomplish what you want. So anyways, if you like 4X style games, I highly recommend this one. And if you're on the fence, well, this will just be another one that we can wait for the VODs, Selphia. But given that you're mentioning Civ 6 in the channel, I'm going to guess that it's one you'll like. So I'll do my best to try and talk about some of the new ideas that are present in the game, but let's see if I can stop the kingdom from falling apart first. Okay. I want to heal, but I also want to make sure that people are getting to where they need to go. So clearly we need to take care of the invasion before we turn our attention on the Thracians. So we'll end the turn. So we're going to have to pull the archers right out. Retaking occupied Macedonian land. Directly to the north of Macedonia lies Paeonia. The people of Paeonia were allies of Troy centuries ago, but they are pestilence upon Macedonia today. During the short rule of your brother Perdiccas, the Paeonians were raiding our northern villages, sometimes together with the Illyrians. For Macedonia to reach greatness, we must put an end to Paeonian insolence. We must free Macedonian citizens living under Paeonian rule, and we must ensure that there is no potential threat from them. The timing is fortunate. King Agis of Paeonia, who even had the audacity to call himself King of Macedonia, recently died. His successor, Lysias, is weaker and less shrewd than Agis. Strike now, and you will turn Paeonia into northern Macedonia. They belong to Greater Macedonia. We've started a goal: clear Paeonian camps occupying our rightful land. All right, so again, we want to crush the Thracians first. Now, I don't want to completely abandon our fight. I guess the question here is, do I really want to have Do I really want Philip to Leroy Jenkins the Thracians? Yes, I do. Might have been better if I put him down here, but I don't want to undo and restore everything. Now, I think, Sylphea, you were saying that you couldn't see the stream. So one of the things that's unique about Old World is this orders system. So one thing about Civilization that I think you'll probably recall is that when you get to a certain point in the game, you'll have lots and lots of units sort of running around, and you sort of feel obligated, like you have to move every single one of them. This game kind of lives in the middle ground between one of those sort of Zynga games where they want you to buy, you know, the game's version of an energy drink to refill your action bar, and Civilization, which kind of creates this implicit feeling that you want to move every single unit every single turn. And essentially what there is an orders resource, and it's a reflection of your ability to govern the kingdom. So you absolutely can wind up in a situation where you have this mighty empire with very large armies that can just sort of steamroll over everyone. But your successor maybe isn't so good at doing that. And so as a result, without the game sort of going out of its way to force a decline, because maybe you didn't raise your kid right or any number of reasons, you can still wind up in sort of one of those dark ages just simply because you have this great ruler who is no longer with us and is, the successor isn't really in a position to sort of inherit the kingdom as it was left to them. So in this case here, so essentially orders is something that you can sort of move up and down. So in this case, you can mouse over to sort of see what's affecting the orders rate. But in this case here, we have 5 surplus orders, which is usually an indication that I want to be doing something different. That could be, I want to have I want to have a larger army so that I can maybe do more moves. Or maybe I want to have some more workers so that I can do more investments or something like that. I'm probably going to be focusing on the military, but I figured that would not be a bad thing for me to mention, just because I know you're not able to see the game. So again, I don't mind getting poked by the bad guys here as long as I don't die. All right, that's a little different than what I was expecting. I might have to vamoose after this, but actually, you know what? I think I can promote and then trying to decide if Focus or Bloodthirsty is the better option. I think I'm going to do Bloodthirsty. No, you fools! Ellen Ripley, thank you for continuing to subsidize everybody's entertainment. I'm very happy that Sylphea now has a sub to the channel thanks to your generosity. I hope you at least... I'm hoping you keep something for yourself so that you can, you can enjoy your time. But I appreciate it immensely. Thank you very much. So I have a little bit of a dilemma here, right? Because I've got some weak units. If I put them beside the Hoplite, they're going to be... Sorry, Hoplite. They're going to wind up taken out. This is a fresh unit. Now, we're going to get poked by the Hoplite just because of where we're standing. I don't really... The thing is, I don't want to test a direct hit from the hoplite, so I'll take a little bit of damage. So I, you know, and then just retreat rather than, you know, rather than avoid doing an attack. But once this is cleared, the invasion's sort of taken care of. Let's get you repairing the quarry. So I believe I could put down another range. I could if I had the wood. So with that in mind, maybe I should chop down some trees. Actually, this is going to get kind of exciting. Because I think they'll wind up getting some damage. Okay. Now I can expand my borders if I put a miner down. The thing is, I don't know if it really gets me something that I want. I don't think I'm quite ready for an apprentice officer yet, so I could make a hypaspist. Again, not so good with the pronunciation. So a warrior's 40. The only thing is that there's a high wood cost here. The alternative also would be to make a settler planning for our eventual invasion of Thracia. My god, there is a lot of them. I'm going to be a bit of a wimp, and I'm actually going to make a slinger to start off with. I am slightly tempted to go for the archer here, although the stonecutter is also a good choice. Actually, I think I slightly prefer the stonecutter in this case, just because of the civics. And this is where I ran into problems last time, right? So this is now 2 turns where we haven't been focusing on military. Although, in fairness, that's partly a resource constraint I'm worrying about here. All right, so we're... Oh! We just lost Philip. No! All right. I'm not going to do this all the time, but I am... I'd rather not start off with losing the unit that that holds my ruler. I'll stop being greedy on that one. That is the only mulligan I hope to take, just because I wasn't thinking straight about the approach, though. That's funny. So quick saved. Autosave 5 is at the start of the turn, but autosave 6 is at the end. It's not like a major hardship, just it's a little funny. Oh no, it's at the end of the turn. I just wasn't paying attention. All right. Okay. Now again, one alternative I have is to try and use both of these archers. I'm not going to do that because I do actually want to chip away at this enemy here. I'm not going to get cute with the Thracians as much as I would like to try and take them out. Actually, the one thing that's funny, if I really want to get silly about it, I think there is a way that I could actually take one of these out and sort of run, like get myself into a position where the Thracians wouldn't reinforce, but I don't know. I feel like if I'm going to undo the turn, I don't want to rely on information that I gain between turns. I have some standards after all. Okay. So yes, I will go for a slinger. And in Pella, I am going to go for Stonecutter. I don't know if I really need this much more in terms of mines, but it is convenient. Now that sort of thing I can live with, right? Because it's not fatal to my ruler. I'm a little worried about committing the archer here, but it is a chance for us to get a kill. Vesper Fortune, good to see you. I'm not going to say who, but there was somebody saying very nice things about the lecture that you gave. Now if I heal... Okay, so it's not enough to take out this unit. Don't fancy the city's chances, but... Actually, you know what? We're just going to hang out here and see if we can tempt the hoplite into... Alright, let's get the quarry rebuilt. Alright, that's the last of the units. So maybe I want to rethink my position on... Yeah, we'll see what happens. Also, we're still losing money. New recruits. Recruitment of willing fighters and their training has been going better than expected in Agai, providing you with additional troops for your growing kingdom. We can always use more swords. A worthy match. A most interesting message arrives from Neoptolemus, king of Molossia. He recognizes your great talent and wishes to ally with you. Neoptolemus claims to be a descendant of Achilles himself, so for him to acknowledge you as an equal, if not more, is truly a sign that you are doing great things. Neoptolemus is offering his daughter, Myrtle the Cunning, to you as a wife. She is, by all accounts, a young woman of extreme intelligence and cunning. Myrtle is also dedicated to the cult of Dionysus with its snake-charming rituals. Such is her dedication that she abandoned her birth name, Polyxia, to become known as Myrtle during a mystical ritual. One conversation with Myrtle is enough to convince you that she is going to be more than yet another partner in yet another political marriage. This is a woman destined to make history. Well, speaking of, does anybody know who this woman is? Myrtle the Cunning is a worthy addition to the royal family. Don't do it, system. I could fix her. I'm tempted to build the range here. The Odeon is also tempting because of the culture, though. I think we're going to go for military for a start. Okay, so, as always, we want to make sure that we're not going to get taken out by the... Oh no, actually, we're fine. Now this will be a fun... Besieger's kind of tempting, actually, because if I can bomb the enemy like this. So what I'm thinking here is I do besiege... You know what? Honestly, I don't need to get that clever with this. It's a Dionysian panic, Vesper. So I'm curious, not that this is... there can be a way that this can sound sort of like a I don't know, a negative thing. I'm just curious, how familiar is chat with this period of history? Again, for those of you who just joined in, this is Philip II, King of Macedonia. Not yet an empire. Is this widely known to people, or is this am I speaking Greek? I think I'm gonna do another bloodthirsty here. And this is one I will spend for extra orders on, just so we can get some healing. Not at all, you're just seeing circles in a head and listening to the music. Completely unfamiliar, would love to learn more. Oh, Vesper's got it. I just know that Alexander the Great is by and people refuse to acknowledge it. Oh, Vesper. Have you ever heard of the Sacred Band of Thieves? Because I believe that comes up here. I will actually mention that the... So MTGO Mike says Philip unified Greece and then Alexander. So yeah, we've skipped to the ending here. Ellen Ripley's sadly filled their brain with Elizabethan history almost exclusively. Oh, Vesper has heard of the Sacred Band of Thieves. Yeah, no. The start of this introduction, or the start of this this scenario is pretty clear on the social norms of the time. All right, we're going to do the free hoplite. So the problem here is we've got two freebies here. I've been neglecting my my army, so I need to make up for that. Wayward Son, a younger son of Sparta's royal family, has presented himself in Aigai as a defector and a great admirer of the culture of Macedonia. Sparta is upset. Strong culture event in Aigai. Take him into custody and make sure that Sparta learns of our leverage. Support his dreams of leading an artistic community in Aigai. Yes, we will do that. All right. The benefits of marriage. So now that you have married Queen Consort Myrtail and she is settled into the royal court, it is clear that her influence over her homeland has not diminished. You can easily understand why. Myrtail is a master of getting people to do her bidding and has a natural aptitude for politics, truly a worthy descendant of Achilles. With her influence, Melosia is now under our political control. It may not be the most developed area of Greece, but can benefit us nonetheless. You are delighted by the growing influence of Macedonia, but for the past few days you've experienced a vague concern as you watch Myrtail in the court. This beautiful snake charmer is not a person anyone can control, not even the king of Macedonia. War does not scare us, but peaceful submission is welcome. So, here's my question for some of you. Does anybody know who Alexander's mom was? I'm gonna go for some healing. Actually, you know what, we're gonna undo that. Okay, new city available for us. My rancher can expand the borders. I think I prefer that. I sort of have enough wood for... We're still losing money. I should actually probably be making more axemen at this point. Okay. So I do, like, this is a great opportunity to build some more iron mines, and I do think we're going to be using quite a few of those, but for now I will settle for building an Odeon. I don't, because the culture, raising the culture will give me access to more powerful units over time. I'm definitely going to need to chop down some more trees. And what do we do here? So I do want to start beating up the Thracians, but the fact of the matter is we're also going to want to take on Paeonia. So I was thinking maybe one of the things that I could do is sort of divide, essentially have two sets of armies running around. So we're going to need to clear all of these out. And I was thinking, like, maybe we hit a certain point with the Thracians. Yeah. Indecisive. maybe it makes sense for us to just wipe these out and then move on to Thracians. I'm not sure. I'll be honest, most of my knowledge of Greece is limited to the mythos and the case. I was going to read parts of the Symposium, but I'm pretty sure nothing will be news to you, Vesper. All right. Alexander's mom was named Olympia. Olympia or Olympias? Actually, I might have got that wrong. This is why we have the phone. Olympias's. But there will be a story of Myrtale and Olympias at some point. Okay, so what I'm trying to decide right now is, do I want to commit to sort of a second war? Because I think I'm in an okay spot for winning it. And obviously getting these objectives done sooner rather than later would be best. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my people in position, and then we'll actually start the fight next turn. It's gonna get a little scary for the next couple of turns, but I have faith. All right, we have exactly one candidate for Chancellor, Arete of Dodona. We're gonna get them right in the middle there. Okay. This is not entirely surprising that we had to deal with this, but I'm going to do something reckless. So we call up the Paeonians. Hey, declare war. The court awaits your command. Shall we declare war on Paeonia? And it says that they're much weaker, so proceed with the preparations minus 80 opinion for 40 seasons, and they declare war on us. All right, so Philip's a badass, so he can basically just kill this in one shot. Now, of course, there's going to be a ton of retaliation, but that's a tomorrow me problem. Alright, we're going to keep these guys here. Right. I am tempted to put up the walls just for the happiness bonus. That is kind of counter to my effort to get the army up and running. But I am going to content myself with the walls just because of the rising discontent. And I'm not normally crazy about... I think I kind of prefer the Odeon. It's interesting that it's recommending it here because of the possibility for adjacent hamlets. I think I'm actually going to build it here. And this one I'm going to build another range. Okay, you will stay put for a turn. And I guess that's it for the season. The Chancellor... We can bribe a family, but I don't... Ooh, the Chaonians are kind of mad. But we don't have the money to pay them off, so I'm going to just have to give them some cities when the time comes. A flirtation. During a goodwill banquet with the courtiers from Sparta, your wife appears to be flirting quite openly with King Archidamus the tactician of Sparta. When confronted, she dismisses your concerns. The dalliance continues for the rest of the evening, causing much heated gossip between the two courts. So this queen, let us just recall for a moment here that it did say that the Illyrians fought with Troy. Now, I suppose in this case, this is kind of like this is the reverse Paris that's happening right now, right? Where Helen, for those of you not familiar with the Iliad, Helen was the wife of Menelaus, and depending on the version that you hear, was either abducted or seduced, or actually, you know what? I was really not going to do this, but just give me 1 minute. Oh, sorry, I'm just realizing the options here. So admonish Adada for her behavior. I have enjoyed the sultry display. Or demand an apology. All right. Let me see how long this one is. Yeah, this isn't appallingly long. So here's the thing. I know I sometimes run into this problem when playing Old World, that I go on too many digressions, but the thing is, I have been exhausted over the last couple of weeks, and I realize that I haven't been explaining the reasoning behind my actions for the last little while, so I could actually deal with a little bit of a reset on the stream. So what we are going to do here, I'm going to just turn on another light. Some of you may... So I think most people know who Socrates is, or have at least heard the name. And I think a lot of people will know that his most famous pupil was a philosopher by the name of Plato. And what is interesting about Socrates is that he, and to a certain extent, actually is a bit like Christ in the sense that you have sort of this martyr-like figure who didn't actually write anything down, but did have students that wrote things down, and those students wrote down different versions of what what was said and what was done. So in the case of Socrates, you have Plato, and I think it's probably acknowledged that the Socrates as portrayed in Plato's dialogues is not necessarily the historical figure. You have got Socrates as portrayed by Xenophon, who is a general, and I hope, yeah, I'm hoping I got that right, but I'm slightly more confident on this than I am on some of the other things I go on about. That's probably the lesser known one. And then there is Socrates as portrayed by Aristophanes, the comic playwright or comic dramatist. I don't know if playwright is the right term, but in The Clouds, Socrates is portrayed as this very ivory tower, teacher of nonsense. It's like Aristophanes is the example I like to give of sort of conservative comedy, which I realize a lot of people think can't happen. So you'll think of something like the Babylon V, which has exactly one joke. But there have been good conservative comics over history. If you think of Aristophanes, The Clouds is kind of like, these newfangled ideas are corrupting the youth. But then you have P.J. O'Rourke would be maybe a more modern example of that. And then I think to a certain extent you might argue that there are some things in Jonathan Swift which would count as that. And then also one of the more famous political comedies, Yes Minister, by Anthony Jay and Jonathan Lynn, has the civil servant as sort of the civil servants as the antagonists. That is definitely a sort of anti-big government kind of propaganda that's going in. I say propaganda in kind of an extreme sense, but in any case, kind of going off a digression on top of the digression here. I'm not here to defend conservative comedy, just simply point out that it exists. But Plato didn't seem to have a whole lot of time for the sophists, and so if you ever read Plato, these folks are not going to seem very, very good. And for a really long time, that did have an influence on my reading and sort of my understanding. But I read one called Gorgias, and it was very hard for me not to like this guy. It's a little bit like when I read A Modest Proposal in high school or middle school. It was just sort of found my guy. So what I'm going to do here, because we were talking about, it does say here in part. So this may not be the full argument, but in any case, this is the Encomium of Helen, and this is just following off of the little bit that I talked about, that lady who started the Trojan War, and it was 100% her fault. Absolutely none of the men involved had anything to do with it. It was all Helen. So, the Encomium of Helen. I will set forth the reasons for which it is likely that Helen's voyage to Troy took place. She did what she did through the will of fate and the designs of the gods and decrees of necessity. She did what she did through the will of fate and the designs of the gods and decrees of necessity, or because she was taken by force, persuaded by words, or conquered by love. Not even if speech persuaded and deceived her soul is it hard to make a defense against this charge and free her from blame as follows. Logos, speech, is a powerful master by which means of the smallest and most invisible body accomplishes most divine deeds. For it can put an end to fear, remove grief, instill joy, and increase pity. I will prove how this is so. But it is to the opinion of my audience that I must prove it. I both consider and define all poetry to be speech with meter. Those that hear it are overcome with fearful shuddering, tearful pity, and mournful yearning, and over the good fortunes and ill farings of other people and their affairs the soul experiences a feeling of its own through the words. Now come, let me shift from one argument to another. Inspired incantations bring on pleasure and bring away grief through words. For conversing with the soul's opinion... By the way, I must apologize. This translation is definitely intended to give you a closer idea of the very specific Greek words that are being used here. I'm just seeing some side notes, but it's not the best for comprehension, so I will give an alternative English translation here in a little bit. Anyways, for conversing with the soul's opinion, the power of incantation charms, persuades, and changes it by witchcraft. Two arts of witchcraft and magic have been discovered, errors of the soul and deceptions of opinion. All who have persuaded, or who persuade, anyone of anything do so by fashioning false logos, or words. For if on all subjects everyone had memory of the past, a conception of the present, and foreknowledge of the future, words would not be similarly similar as it is for people who, as things are, cannot easily remember the past, consider the present, or divine the future. Thus, on most matters, most people make an opinion on an advisor to the soul. But opinion is fallible and uncertain, and involves those who make use of it in fallible and uncertain successes. What then keeps us from supposing that Helen, too, against her will, came under the influence of words, just as she had been taken by force, the force of mighty men? For it was possible to see how persuasion prevails, which lacks the appearance of necessity, but has the same power. For words, which persuaded, compelled the soul, which it persuaded, both to believe what is said and to approve what is done. Therefore, the one who persuaded, since he compelled, is unjust, and the one who was persuaded, since she is compelled by words, is wrongly blamed. As to the fact that persuasion added to words makes whatever impression it likes on the soul, one should attend first to the accounts of the astronomers, who replace one opinion with another, and so make things incredible and unclear seem apparent to the eyes of opinion. Second, to compulsory competitions that use speeches in which a single word is written with art, but not spoken with truth, delights and persuades a large crowd. And third, to contests of philosophers' accounts in which it is revealed how easily the swiftness of thoughts makes our confidence and our opinion change. The power of words has the same relation to the order of the soul and as the order of drugs has to the nature of bodies. For as different drugs expel different humors from the body, and some put an end to sickness and others to life, so some words cause grief, others joy, some fear. Others render their hearers bold, and still others drug and bewitch their soul through an evil persuasion. It has been stated that if she was persuaded by words, she did not do wrong, but was unfortunate. By my account, I have removed ill fame from a woman. I have stayed faithful to the rule I stipulated at the beginning of my words. I have attempted to put an end to the injustice of blame and the ignorance of opinion. I wanted to write the words as a praise of Helen and an entertainment for myself. So, again, I apologize. That is not the easiest translation, and I definitely did a terrible job reading it. Let me just get the light. But why did I talk about that? So, first of all, we have the benefit of living in the time that we do, but I think it is fair to say that at the time that this was written, Helen of Troy was not necessarily considered a model human being. So in this case, Gorgias is being a bit of a troll here by saying it's like, I'm going to talk about... It's like, okay, you know, this is like an old example, but I figure people who watch old... This is going to be me saying is like, let me tell you why Dick Cheney's a really great guy, right? This is going to be something where, like, as soon as someone says that, you're going to be pissed off. I don't know, maybe you really like Dick Cheney, but I assume most people will consider that to be a very trolly thing. I gave that specific example just because I had an image up on a chat program, and someone said, "Is like, is that Dick Cheney?" You troll. So I forgot that I had that image up, but I really like that reaction, so that's the one reason why I thought about that. So first of all, we're starting off with a speech which is going to say, I'm going to give you a speech in praise of this person who you think's a real jerk. And then on top of that, this is entirely about persuasion. So of course, Gorgias is he's a sophist. His whole deal is that he will offer training in terms of proper speech, proper words, how to persuade people, how to talk. So this is obviously a sales document as well, right? I am so good at what I am doing that I am going to convince you that someone who you have a low opinion of is actually, completely blameless. Helen of Troy is absolutely blameless. And proceeds to do so. I mean, again, whether or not you are persuaded by this argument, essentially it's the idea here that, the power of words, the power of people who know how to use words is about the same as if, she had simply been grabbed and dragged to Troy. The fact that she felt that she was making her own decisions is just an example of how powerful words are. And as a result, I find her blameless, by the way, by my correspondence course. But I will say, actually, one of the reasons why I like this at the very end is what he just says is like, I write this in praise for Helen and also as an entertainment for myself. I just love the fact that he says at the end, and you know what, I was bored, so I decided to whip this thing up. So again, I do kind of wish that I think there's a Penguin translation that actually is a little bit more natural. But one of the things that I have always loved about doing historical 4X games are that they give me a chance. Hello, Takri, how are you doing? I'm sorry, we just spent some time talking about why Helen of Troy is a completely blameless lady. Which again, is in 2024, everyone's like, of course she was blameless, but that wasn't necessarily the thought at the time. But one of the excuses for doing this is, or one of the excuses I have during 4X games like Old World is these kinds of games were actually my first glimpse to the ancient world. I first found out what a hoplite was playing Civilization, and so every once in a while, if the events pop up or the if basically there are a few different things that can happen that spawn little memories. But in this case here, because we're having the reverse Troy happen, I figured that would be a fun little digression. Although again, I do apologize for the quality of the reading and the translation. It was the one I had available. All right, a flirtation during a goodwill banquet. We'll read this again just so we can be clear. And actually, I figured for the benefit of Kree, we'll say, so Queen Consort Odata, apparently Illyria had been on Troy's side. They have a great history. My new wife, Myrtail, claims descent from Achilles. So obviously we prefer the new wife. But in this case here, what's happening, we can say it now. During a goodwill banquet with courtiers from Sparta, your wife appears to be flirting quite openly with King Archidamus, the tactician of Sparta. When confronted, she dismisses your concerns. The dalliance continues for the rest of the evening, causing much heated gossip between the two courts. So I like to say this is the reverse Troy that's happening. So we can admonish her, and we'll gain strict. So I'm not a governor, but I am a leader, so we can get extra experience. I have enjoyed this sultry display, and he becomes debauched. Or demand an apology. And yeah, I'm okay frustrating the Spartans. All right, the Olympic Games. Every 4 years for the last 4 centuries, Olympic Games have been held in Greece, with the best athletes across our lands competing in running, wrestling, throwing, and chariot racing. Conflicts and political differences would be temporarily put aside for the Games, a tradition stemming from the gods themselves, as it was Heracles, the son of Zeus, who first held a competition at Olympia. There is no shortage of work to be done in Macedonia. You should bolster your reputation further by taking the time to train for and participate in the upcoming Olympic Games, something that Myrtail encourages you to do. The Games would combine training with entertainment. So hold Olympic Games by completing an Olympiad. We will do so. You've started a goal to hold Olympic Games by completing an Olympiad. Change of heart. Another night of revels has come and gone, leaving the court with debts to pay. The Queen Consort Odata, fills every evening with feasting, musicians, and wine from the country. We cannot sustain such expenses, so the gold must be used for other endeavors, or I will speak with Queen Consort Odata about frugality. All right, let's try not to kill my leader, hey? I kind of would prefer to put the herd on Paeonia, but I think we need to get rid of the barbarians here. It was awesome. So we were talking with Sophia about this. Like, this is one of the things that's fun in this game, is that the fragments are not like, this is a scenario, right? So clearly there are going to be moments where, you know, the story is designed to line up with history in specific ways. But there are other ways in which these things. I am not ready for this. I can't really rush it either, so I think we're just going to have to accept that this is going to be a very sad, sad period of time. But yeah, all of these things can kind of combine together in delightful ways. Oh, good. So, arrow to the eye. As a true leader, you have always led by example. In any battle, you would be in the front fighting the enemy. You have been scarred many times, but no scar is as visible as the one from your latest battle. An enemy arrow struck you squarely in the eye, leaving you in excruciating pain. The battle was still won, as your battles usually are, but your eye would not be saved. Maybe time to consider whether you should be a slightly more careful commander, even though there is no denying that you look even more intimidating with only your left eye and many scars across your face. No wound will deter me from leading my armies. Right, we do need to make sure we don't lose Philip, though. So I think this would be a time for... Yeah, we'll let the archer finish them off here. Actually, let's undo that. Let's focus on archers on the city, and then we can claim that. You are now known as Philip the Drill Master. Volunteer settlers. As our soldiers clear the way for further expansion of Macedonia, there's no shortage of volunteers to settle and rebuild the newly conquered lands. Entire families are ready to set out and only await word from the palace. A grand Macedonian city will be built on the site. All right, excellent. So I'm doing kind of the conquest of Paeonia now. I think what I'll do, I might even try to complete the conquest of at least parts of Illyria as well, but we want the main body of the force to be taking on the Thracians. What was the only option? Sorry, Oswin, I missed. Oh, you mean for the Scar? All right, we finished an Axeman. I think we should be doing the Olympiad, right? Yeah. All right. Let's get that settler. So this isn't like Civilization. If the settler gets attacked, you don't immediately lose it. Okay, I could build a theater here. I'd prefer to build it somewhere else, though. I don't think I really thought this through. Because ideally I build it next to an omelet. I'll build the omelet. Alright, Axeman. I'm potentially setting myself up for a world of pain if I don't defend Dodona. I think I am just going to throw them into the main force, though. Okay, I could get a free court minister, or I can go for better... You know what? I'm going to take the minister just because it does help me with my stats here. Recruitment of willing fighters and their training has been going better than expected in Agai, providing you with additional troops for your growing kingdom. We will always have use for more swords. Defending Dodona. Having joined you politically, the city of Dodona has certainly made the right decision. It is, however, somewhat distant from your seat of power, and you have no shortage of enemies in Greece. Understanding that, the Molossan authorities in Dodona have equipped a guard of loyal citizens and work to reinforce the city's outer defenses. This will not be enough should Dodona face a real army, but it should deter any opportunistic attacks. I appreciate the Molossians even more now. Birth of an heir. Your marriage to Queen Consort Myrtail has borne fruit. Months ago, you had a dream that you sealed her womb with a seal depicting a lion, and the seer Aristander told you that Myrtail would give birth to a son who would be bold as a lion. The young boy, less than a week old, already strikes you as a future warrior. You can recognize your own facial features in him, and even the child's cries seem commanding, unlike the feeble wailing of most infants. You suspect that even the wise Aristander underestimated what your visions meant. The child will not just be brave as a lion, he will be as the Nemean lion, impervious to mortals' weapons. You name the young boy Defender of the People, Alexander. He will grow up to do great things. My wife has given birth to a son, Prince Alexander. A frustrating outcome. Our agents in the court have been trying to convince Queen Consort Odata to cease her rampant spending, but to no avail. Feasts, fineries, jewels, art, exotic animals, messengers bring new bills by every day. Action is needed. Forbid her access to the royal treasury. Or I am increasingly frustrated with her. Okay, honey. Oswin likes Queen of Death. Alright, we're gonna found a city here. I don't think the farmer really gets me much in terms of extra land. I am kind of tempted just to start with the walls and move from there. Okay, I think I do actually need to build some proper defenses here, so and this will give me a chance to heal the other units for a bit, so well, we can have a little pillaging. These things, I believe, are actually pretty good against hoplites, so I might have created a problem. I hope the game doesn't crash, but it sure doesn't sound good. I think I'm just gonna force quit. Oh, didn't need to. Excuse me. Excuse me. Your wife has given birth to a son, Duke Macatus. Wait, which wife? Vagabonds in several Athenian cities are requesting to be officially recognized by the state. Are we willing to share the concept of citizenship with Athenian Alliance? This act may generate goodwill among people of both nations. What shall we do? So we can say gold is a fair price to pay for citizenship, or we do not wish to meddle in the Athenian Alliance's affairs. Keep making him mad. Dominating Thessaly, the region of Thessaly, with its beautiful valleys, it has vast tracts of fertile land that has witnessed many grand events. The Titans once fought the Olympians in the plain below Mount Olympus. Heracles built his own funeral pyre on Mount Oeta. The great Achilles was born here. There is no Greece without Thessaly, and Macedonia cannot claim to be the ruler of all Greece without holding Thessaly. Thessaly is not as strong a state as it was mere 2 decades ago under Jason of Pherae. Not long after Jason's death, Thessaly came to be ruled by the cruel Alexander, who at times skirmished with Macedonia and was hated by his own people. Alexander was recently murdered by his own wife and brothers, and today Thessaly is greatly weakened by internal politics. Once our armies are ready, we should march south and make Thessalian cities our own, so you can personally gaze upon Mount Olympus and know the birthplace of the gods is part of your kingdom. That will be a major step towards dominating all Greek affairs. As iron sharpens iron, over numerous encounters you have found yourself drawn to Oligarch Lysander of Dodona. Your shared interest in treating others with respect and dignity proves to be a stable foundation for a budding friendship. How will you reinforce this relationship? I will learn all I can from him and gain discipline, or I will place Lysander in my confidence and bind him to me. Nope, we will learn all that we can. Okay, let's not ignore the infrastructure. So it is kind of tempting to put Hamlet down here. And I believe that is it for our military buildings. Now, I don't have the stone for the theater. That might be something I want to start working on, actually, is finding a new place for quarries. I mean, we've got a few here, but obviously that's not enough. We really probably should have a trio of quarries somewhere in my territory here. It was recommending... I think this is so I can expand my borders is why it's recommending that. But as a temporary measure... we also don't have the wood for that. Okay. I wasn't quite going to start chopping down these woods, but I think the game has forced my hand. All right. I'm going to change this around a little bit. That is still going to kill this unit. All right, so this is a little bit different from how I was planning on doing this this turn, but let's go. I do kind of want to heal up this turn. The thing is, I do also want to get some momentum back, right? Like, we really should have already taken these two cities and be working on Thrace at this point. But there's always next season. Celebrations, not bloodshed. Thessaly presents us with another opportunity to gain influence through marriage. They are not so centralized as to have a single decision maker, but there are still noble women of significant influence that could be persuaded to enter into marriage with you. We can expand Macedonia by purely military means, or you can seek out a Thessalian wife to once again reap the political advantages of a well-timed marriage. We will consider this course of action. It's good to be the king. All right, let's volunteer settlers. As our soldiers clear the way for further expansion of Macedonia, there is no shortage of volunteers to settle and rebuild the newly conquered lands. Entire families are ready to set out and only await word from the palace. Again, I do want to make sure that we're healing so that we can deal with the Thracians. Now, I guess I'm going to have to wait till next season, but we will woo Thessaly. You have completed the goal, hold Olympic Games by completing an Olympiad. A fair victory. After training for the event, you travel to Olympia to participate in this year's competition. As a king, you participate in the most prestigious event of the Olympics, the 4-horse chariot race. Standing on the open chariot between the 4 horses, you find yourself reflecting on the incredible strength of these animals and the greatness of humanity that has made horses do its bidding. Then a trumpet sounds, the gates of Olympia's hippodrome fly open, and you steer your chariot with the same focus you have on the battlefield. You have even fought in battles that had a slower pace than this competition of charioteers. As you evade the other drivers and go for the 12th and final lap around the track, it is your chariot that is ahead of the others. A minute later, to the thunderous shouts of the spectators, you become the winner of this Olympiad's chariot race. The olive wreath is rightfully yours, and that is not all. To commemorate your victory, your wife, Queen Consort Myrtale, changes her name to Olympias, so that her place in history will be inextricably tied to your victory today. That would be very entertaining. The first Philippic. Demosthenes has spoken in front of the ecclesia in Athens, denouncing you with all the oratorical skill that made him famous. He denounces you as a warmonger and claims that you are singularly obsessed with controlling Greece at any cost, even if that means brutal oppression of all who do not wish to be ruled by you. Demosthenes urges all Athenians to prepare for an inevitable war, going so far as to urge the creation of a new military force that would sail in 50 galleys to do battle in Macedonia. He calls you someone drunk with the magnitude of your achievements and dreams of further triumphs. Most citizens do not agree with this rhetoric, but Demosthenes has plainly revealed himself as an enemy of Macedonia. I have faced greater threats than that. All right. So definitely want to keep cutting trees. A strange encounter. While searching the ruins of the Paeonian camp, our units stumble across a magnificent artifact covered in strange markings. They report that when the artifact was rubbed, a fantastic creature appeared and ordered them to leave the sacred ground or face a terrible curse. How shall we respond to such a story? Search the ruins, only fools believe such nonsense. Keep the artifact so our scholars may study its magic, or leave the Paeonian land immediately. I think I'm going to go for keep the artifact so our scholars may study its magic. You have completed the goal, clear Paeonian camps occupying our rightful land. No free settlers this time, though. Oh, actually, I wonder... So if I wait a turn, I might actually get some free settlers. I think it's time for me to turn my attention to the Thracians too. Maybe we'll make this contingent the group that's going to go and take Illyria. I also forgot to try and get a Thessalian wife. Alright, and we did finish the Olympiad, so I can try for another stonecutter. I actually don't hate this idea just because I am short on stone and I don't have immediate places to get more. So yeah, I am going to go for that. Even though, again, I probably should be investing in my military a bit more. Honor Guard. A position in your personal honor guard has become available. Rival candidates from the Argead and Chaonian families have both come forward to petition for the opening. Who shall we choose? So the Chaonian, I feel like we want to try and make nice with them, so choose this warrior. Now let's found a city. And the main reason for that is so I can... Tribal Confederation. Our units overcome the last of the Paeonian defenders. A messenger arrives from Thessaly. Apparently, the Paeonian are part of a confederation of nomadic tribes. The message is a warning. To wage war with one is to wage war with all. What response will we give the messenger? Macedonia will spare you this once, or we do not take orders from... Okay. As much as I'd love to do this, we'll spare you this once. I'm hoping this didn't annoy Thessaly. Yeah. So we'll do a tribal marriage. Then looks like we are actually going to have to get our own settlers this time. So 4 turns for settlers in the main city. What am I short on? This kind of works, but... So... The officer is also kind of tempting because of the orders that it gives me, but... I think I'm going to go for a minor right now. Alright, Thessalonica, let's do... Like, pretty much have to do the minor here. That would be wasteful to do anything less. I'm actually running short on stone. We'll still go for the walls. I don't know if that's going to help me expand the main city here, but scared to take any risks or even make mistakes, Chancellor Arete has become timid. Respectable dowry. We have received a Thessalian response to our marriage proposal. The young Nicepolis, the romantic, a relative of the late Thessalian ruler Jason, is ready to become your wife. She holds considerable sway over the city of Larissa, which will declare its allegiance for Macedonia once the marriage ceremony between you and Nicepolis concludes. Any marriage that gives us more territory is a good one. Themistocles joins the court. A new court minister, Themistocles, has joined the court. His aptitude in matters of state will keep Macedonia moving forward. Welcome, Themistocles the minister. I am kind of tempted for the free worker, but forestry is very hard to turn down, so... Another child, Queen Consort Olympias, has brought another child into this world, this time a girl. You name her Cleopatra and are confident that Olympias will raise the girl to be a worthy princess. You have started what could only be what could be quite a powerful dynasty, and those who can threaten it will not survive much longer. Cleopatra will bring me and Olympias much joy. So who was the other kid that we had? Yeah, Olympias gave... This is actually funny. So, like, I think this was a random event that happened in the game, so, Olympias wound up giving birth to Duke Makatis like the turn after Prince Alexander's. They're not exactly twins, but the game, like, I don't really think acknowledged it just because it wasn't a story event. It was just kind of something that happened. So prolific. All right, let's how you doing, Lord Gloom? I'm trying to remember if I saw you do an art stream last week or if I just made that up. Either way, we've had Vesper, we've had Zelphea, we've had Oswin stop by, and it is now Lord Gloom. Okay, I didn't make it up. I'm sorry, Lord Gloom. I am really starting to have like the weeks kind of blend together ever since starting this new job. I really do feel like I'm streaming on fumes right now. But it is fun to be back to Old World. I do have a feeling I'm making the same mistakes I did last time in terms of yeah, fair enough. In any case, not that I want to sound insincere with Lord Gloom's stream, but Lord Gloom is actually a streamer of many talents. Originally saw stuff through Cobalt Core, but I've done live magic streams. I was going to say it wasn't digital magic. I remember it was physical magic. This is actually by Mohawk Games. So they made a very good real-time economic RTS. Well, real-time RTS. It's a very good economic RTS called Off-World Trading Company, and this was the follow-up. Now, what's worth remembering is that Mohawk Games is founded by Soren Johnson, who is probably best known for being the lead on Civilization 4. And if you happen to like game dev stuff, there was actually a GDC talk of him talking about, yeah, I really liked Off-World Trading Company too. So there was actually a GDC talk of him sort of talking about this inheritance that comes from working in certain genres, like the idea that if you do a 4X kind of quote-unquote has to have certain things. And the talk was very much about, you know, what happens when you actually make a game sort of earn that inheritance. He says it's much better. I'm kind of putting words in his mouth saying this, but essentially, you can imagine Old World as being premised on this idea of what would 4X games be like if 4X was created today. And one of the ways to actually stumble in this game is to just treat everything the way that Civilization does. But in this case, I'm playing a scenario. And it's a very well done. It definitely takes a little bit of getting used to when you first play it. But I think they did a really wonderful job of the game, and it's very focused. So this will only take place in the ancient world. It never moves beyond that. And this one I'm actually playing is it's a scenario that came from Heroes of the Aegean. So you get to go through Thermopylae, Marathon. You have well, they're not. This is the succession. So we've just Olympias has just given birth. Who is not Olympias at the time has just given birth to Prince Alexander. So I think you may be referring to the succession slot here. So Chancellor Arete is 20, and Ambassador Simon. You wouldn't think he's 42 from that portrait, but they're all the appropriate ages for their various jobs. But yeah, in any case, this is definitely a very good 4X 4X game, Civ-like game. But it is definitely one that is not just following. And I'll actually admit, this is not the only game doing that. I think this is definitely the best that has sort of asked that question and moved on. But there's a game called Zephon, I think. Let me just double check that. Yeah, Zephon. So this is by Proxy Studios. They did Gladius, the Warhammer 40k 4X, and earlier game called Pandora First Contact. Yes, and Endless Legend is another example, actually. But yeah, I would definitely say that like Gladius and I think Zephon are intending to put a very heavy combat focus on 4X, which is an interesting direction. I don't entirely agree with some of the claims that they make about combat, but again, the thing is that it's nice when people don't just do like, hey, you like Civilization? Well, this is Civilization. It just has a smaller budget. You generally want people to say, I'm doing something with this genre which, I haven't seen before, or, I think this is a better way to go about this sort of thing, or I've always wanted to do X, Y, or Z in a game, right? Like, it's generally when games are allowed to do their own thing, or maybe even just be weird, that usually results in something more satisfying. So those are some examples of it. But again, I think Old World, first of all, Old World is about the ancient world. It's something that I find interesting. It's something I've always found interesting in terms of gaming. I noticed there's a tendency for people to kind of assume that I'm having a laugh or like overselling it when I say that Civilization is kind of responsible for getting me interested in the things that I wound up studying in school. But I really do mean that in a literal sense. Like, if it was not for Civilization, sometimes some of the older ones like Alpha Centauri, I may not have necessarily taken up some of the subjects that I did find very rewarding and interesting. And even if they didn't directly translate, so like originally went to university because I wanted to study philosophy. And then I kind of quickly discovered that I was actually also really interested in econ, and I pursued that. But the thing is, I was actually talking earlier, I had to drop off a book to the library, and again, this is just one of these things, like you see it and it means a whole lot to you, and then when you explain it to someone else, they just think you're a complete lunatic. But I remember seeing, like, there was a mom and a kid, and the kid was like bouncing and happy, and they were like really excited to be going to the library, and I kind of remember that, and I'm like, oh man, like, I like reading, but I really wish I was like that about reading again. And but the thing is that I do still get a great satisfaction from it. And like I said, I do think it's fair to say that I wouldn't have explored certain subjects had I not been exposed to them through games like this. And as a result, games that do portray the ancient world, particularly in a way that sort of highlights some of the interesting things that aren't always as well known, I tend to have a kind of a special place for those. So I know the fantasy stuff, like, Age of Wonders does very well. Endless Space, Endless Legend, they're all very nice games, but I do tend to find that the historical ones usually are the ones that I pay the closest attention to. Yeah, it's a tricky one though, Lord Gloom, too, because like the thing about RTS games is it's not like there wasn't attempts to innovate. And some of them wound up being very successful, just we don't really call them RTS anymore. So something like Dota 2, I always have to deal with one person who's like, this is not an RTS. I'm like, it kind of is though, right? Like, I understand that people do want to say these as, are their own thing. And like, I am perfectly aware that they had their origins as like as mods for RTS games. But if you really like, it's like any genre thing, right? If you get fine-grained enough, you can essentially make it impossible to define anything. And I think, it's a little bit like adventure games. Like, adventure games don't really exist the way that everybody's sort of fond. I mean, there are some companies that make adventure-style games, but like, there really isn't a lot of the LucasArts style adventure game or the Sierra style adventure game around. But Telltale was a thing for a while. And like Mass Effect, to a certain extent, has a few features like that. And even RPGs, right? Like, there was Pillars of Eternity, which is really close to the Infinity Engine style games. But like Tyranny, I think eventually hit expectations, but like, I think it underperformed at the start. Pillars of Eternity 2 did not sell according to expectations. But Divinity Original Sin, or at least Divinity Original Sin 2, and definitely Baldur's Gate 3, things that push ahead, have done very well. So the thing is that there's a kind of, it's almost to an arbitrary line. Yeah, like, this is the thing. I think the thing is that, like, people have just abandoned the principle of charity at this point. It's like, you can hear what I'm saying and say, this idiot thinks MOBAs are RTS games. I was like, oh, Command and Conquer and Dota 2, they're the same, right? I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. But I did say Tyranny. Very good game. But to try and explain, I guess the thing that the point that I try to make is that when people want to try and answer, like, what happened with RTS and this idea of lack of innovation, is that it can be very interesting sometimes what we say is a thing becoming a new genre, and what is, innovation within the genre, right? And it does feel sometimes that can be an arbitrary distinction that we make. Because when I think of innovation in RTS, there are games like Tooth and Tail, which make an effort to try and make it a little bit more console friendly. So in that case, you're sort of controlling one character and moving around. So again, you see reflections of the MOBA, right? Dawn of War 3 made some efforts to bring some new things in, but nobody bought Dawn of War 3. And then there was Off-World Trading Company. That one seemed to do reasonably well enough that Mohawk's continuing to make games. But yeah, the thing is, it's like, in one sense, I feel like there were people that tried to do new things with the genre, and still are. But there is also the question in terms of what the players are supporting. The other thing I'll say is, I also don't know, like, I don't dislike RTS games, but I will say that I'm not like, I do actually tend to prefer turn-based. Like, I just like being able to put some thought into what I do, or at least having the option of some thought into what I do. And there is a side of me that thinks that most players actually kind of like to be able to sort of have some concentration. And so a game like StarCraft, where it's at least theoretically possible to have sort of different groups of units on the map doing different things, I do sometimes wonder if there is the appetite for that people claim there is. I don't know, though, right? Like, I have my guesses. We've got enough to chop down some more. Yeah. These are some tough calls. The luxuries are nice, but so are the horses. I think I'll start with the rancher. Can I do another tribal marriage? All right. Thracian prince. Our soldiers take the local Thracian chief captive and they force him before the throne in fetters. Head held high, he asks the court to show mercy, to spare his young son in exchange for his own life. What is our answer? Send them both away in chains, spare the boy but kill the father. That is the compassionate option, apparently. And I'll raise the boy as my own. Oh, God. Send them both away in chains. So, let's, I do want to get Philip in on the fight, but the rest of these... I'm definitely going to need to heal them. We eventually want to move on Illyria, but... I don't need those archers anyway. The birth of Thessalonica. Your marriage to Queen Consort Naesipolis did not take long to bear fruit. As you gaze upon your newborn daughter, you think of your mighty armies winning battles in Thessaly, where Naesipolis hails from. Thus you decide that the girl will be called Thessalonike, victory in Thessaly. The inflexible Atropos has not been kind to Naesipolis. She suffered great injury while giving birth, and it is clear that her thread of life will be severed shortly. Queen Consort Olympias has been a close friend of Naesipolis and intends to raise Thessalonica as her own daughter. I can see the resemblance to her mother. Naesipolis will be missed. It is said that Atropos, the oldest of the Fates, is responsible for deciding how to end the thread of one's life. To be visited by Atropos would mean that you are doomed. My wife has given birth to a daughter, Duchess Thessalonica. Enamored, recent court gossip centers on the chief of Thessaly, Olympias, and her growing fondness of you. She saw you during a recent diplomatic visit, and the tribal ruler was visibly smitten. How can we use this relationship to our advantage? Well, the other Olympias won't mind, right? This match is a boon to both groups. I have no time for flights of fancy, or I will woo her in order to secure favorable trade deals. Match for both groups. A boon for both groups, sorry. I don't have the stone, so we'll build another farm. More clear cut. Alright, I do, where possible, want to continue conquest, so... You are now known as Philip the Valiant. Can we finish him off? No. The other thing for me to remember is that until I actually put some settlers down, I can't just up and leave these city sites. I do believe they eventually go back to the original owner if I do that. I am also going to need to build some boats at some point to take Thassos. Queen Consort Nisipolis, your wife has died. Road to Heaven, a procession of ragged Spartan holy men enters the capital, searching for a sign from their divine masters. These seekers wish to prove their worthiness, and they hope to study under our holiest advisors. Shall we share our spiritual secrets? So this would give them monasticism. They will understand when they are ready. For months, your wife has expressed an interest in mastering horseback riding. Shall we accommodate her? We can hire a riding master, or it's too expensive. Nope, keep Olympias happy. All right. Burial mounds. Our troops discover a series of burial mounds outside the conquered Thracian camp. The contents are lavish and richly ornamented. Many in the ranks wish to loot the ancient site, but some worry that such an action would bring about dark omens. Normally I would say loot it, but I do like the idea of the extra discipline. So I believe this scenario ends when Philip dies. So we... in this case, it kind of makes sense to keep going with the existing ruler. I did not read that right. So normally I would be focusing on the city, but in this case I'm actually gonna use the archers to bring some pain on the unit. I don't have too much left in terms of orders anyway. Let's expand the borders with a farm, I think. Again, I'm underinvesting in the army, sadly. Dishonest and greedy oligarch Eurydice, the judge is corrupt. Alright, we're gonna still chop down as many trees as we can. Let's see, so... I want to be a little careful of my unit's health, but... Probably should have had those on sentry a while ago. More or less, Oswin Meow. It's, so if you want... So So there's the reason why I say more or less is there's no music until you research drama in this game. Now we started with drama, so there wasn't a time when you couldn't hear it, but that's one thing that that will affect it. And then if you want, like right now this is on shuffle, but if you want, you can play with the playlist. Some of these haven't been picked. So like Glassworks, that's Philip Glass. Like that's expensive if you want to get the broadcast rights for that. So there's a lot of really wonderful pieces which are not on the streamer friendly version. But the problem is that there are a few pieces in here that fairly aggressively pursue their rights. And I do want to be clear, I am not one of those streamers that's like, it's essential for me to be able to, to have it, it's their music, it's their, their choice to do with it what they want, right? So I do think it is a bit of a shame that, not everyone's going to be able to hear that music. Some of it is really wonderful, and some of it might be the only way that you do get to, to hear it. But it's you can't have everything. But yeah, no, there's no the soundtrack doesn't change for battles or church or anything like that. It just kind of does its thing. I am slightly tempted to build some settlers. It does kind of condemn this area. No, actually, the first thing I should do is make a worker. Otherwise, what are we doing here? All right, we definitely don't need the training boost. I think a battle line is probably the right call here. The import and export business. Oligarch Lanki the Younger strides into your chambers late one evening, her dress fluttering with each step. I've simply heard the best news. You are familiar with Nicomedia? Well, the city has been growing like grass, and they're looking, to expand their industries. I thought I'd clue you in and see if you wanted to invest in one of our little ventures. She lays out the details of the various operations. You've decided to support which operation. We can expedite the approval of horses on military grounds. I will support the import and development of citrus and will provide capital. I love the idea for wheat, but I'd have to do it on credit. I think we'll bring in citrus. An influence mission. Recently, you've been thinking about improving relations with Oligarch Lysander of Dodona. Who knows what benefits such a friendship could bring? An influence mission could help you accomplish this goal. Shall you set out to influence Oligarch Lysander of Dodona and thereby improve his opinion of you? I think we get this one for free because it's technically a tutorial one. So I see some profit in trying to improving relations with Oligarch Lysander of Dodona. I would normally have moved... Actually, you know what? I am still going to move this unit here. I might follow up later. We really don't have the stone for any of this stuff, so really... I think the time has come for me to start... Actually, you know what? Let's start by building a lumber mill. By Pella, I will build the nets just because it avoids giving up precious stones. Not 100% sure what I'm doing with these folks yet. Okay, let's take a minute to plan. Slight change to the plan. And we're definitely going to have to hold here just because this is an actual city that's being captured. Now I'm trying to think if there's any way to... I'm trying to think if there's any way to take over Thessaly without going to war. I'm going to try marrying into it again, but... Okay. Yeah, we gotta keep cranking out settlers at this point. Fall of Krendes. Macedonia now controls Krendes, a new settlement in the area founded only about a year before you took the throne. Despite the settlement's lack of history, it has an important position next to sources of gold. The settlement also lies close to a narrow pass between the mountains and a swamp, making it hard to pass further east, or from there, without crossing within sight of Krendes. It is also clearly a good idea to rename the settlement after yourself. After all, it doesn't even have much of a history, so what name could be better than that of the greatest Macedonian ruler? Somehow, I really like the name. Sabotage. Unhappy with our rule, Chaonian saboteurs have destroyed several improvements in the capital, and they seek to deface and topple those landmarks that define us as a nation. This cannot stand, so I will make them pay for their insolence, or it is time to mend ties with the Chaonians. I am going to try and mend fences. Okay, now this finally gives me a chance to heal before we go on our adventure in Illyria. All right. These guys are dead if they don't get out of the way. Excuse me. Okay. Now in Larissa, we don't have remaining citizens for the gardener, I believe. Yeah. I don't think it would hurt to invest in some defenses then. Against my better judgment, I'm going to go for an archer, although it is fairly expensive. Okay, Philippi. I think we'll start by repairing the damage. And Corcyra. I think before I do any of this, we're going to go for a worker. I think it was foolish of me to build the walls and stuff like that first. Governor Melinger the Younger, governor of Aigai, would sell his own grandmother for 2 coins. Everyone knows him to be greedy. Alright, as before, cut trees. Alright, so this is the best one to do the work with. Now, I also want to start adding some generals. We'll still try and get the healing in, but I wanted to... Yeah, I wanted to try and give myself a little bit of an edge. And actually, Philip can just go crashing into the Thracians again, but let's... Okay, so I've got nothing else to do with my orders now. That's definitely a call for more workers and soldiers. Run away! They've actually done a really good job of pinning me down here. Okay, so first thing we gotta do is repair. Now I'm in danger of losing Philip's unit here. Oh, no I'm not. Welcome back, Sylphea. All right. I'm tempted to try and build another quarry at this point. Oh, I didn't chop down the trees yet. All right. And we can adopt a new law. So we can go for slavery or freedom, tyranny or constitution, divine rule or legal code. So slavery, mines and quarries, 20% output, but unhappiness, freedom, extra money per specialist. Colonies, I can buy tiles with money. Serfdom, more orders. Divine rule, shrines give happiness. Legal code, more civics. We'll go for the civics. I got very lucky. Chaonian rebels, angry with your rule in Dodona, have formed an archer near the city. General Lysimachus the Younger cannot let go of grievances and is often angry, a most bitter person. So maybe it wasn't the smartest thing for me to put my valuable unit up front like that, but... Choices have consequences. That's all I have to say. Let's get these guys healed up. All right. So as much as I'd love to have Philip running around raising hell. Actually, you know what? We might still be able to get away with it, but let's try and get... Let's make sure that we can actually pull this off first. So... Yeah, so as much as I want to pretend that Philip can just kind of run in and ruin everyone's day, he's not immortal, so... So we pass over the Axeman. I'm not above paying points to make some of this happen. Okay, we've got our worker. I should probably decide what I want to do with him first. I'd love to build the barracks, but I just don't have the stone for it. Everything wants stone, good lord. Maybe we get him to chop up the scrub then? This might be one of those times I just want to raise my my hands and say, I don't know what to do. So I am going to build the settler, though. Philippi, we've now repaired everything. This is such a tough call. I think I have to start with the worker at this point. Okay, that more or less, that actually worked out pretty well for us. So, you've successfully exerted your influence upon Oligarch Lysander of Dodona. Oligarch Lysander of Dodona becomes influenced by King Philip the Valiant. Show respect, seeking to improve relations. Demosthenes, king of the Athenian alliance, arrives to address the court. During introductions, he insists that members of our court kneel and kiss his feet, as is customary in the Athenian alliance. The heads of our noble houses passionately object to this request. As a rumble of discontent passes through the crowd, Demosthenes looks to you for a decision. Our people should not be forced to obey your customs. So I'm not crazy about losing the wisdom, but... Message from Epilles. You awake in the middle of the night, gasping in horror. You have been visited by Epilles, the demon of nightmares. His message is not clear, but you can recall flashes of blood, gasping for air, and the sound of people screaming. Your seers dare not interpret the message definitively, but they suggest an explanation that you suspect may be right, that you will not die a natural death. Not even demons will scare me. The scenario will end once Philip dies. The second Philippic. The citizens of the Athenian alliance have assembled for another fiery speech by Demosthenes. He accuses you of violating previous peace agreements among the Greek city-states and denounces those in Athens who support you, saying that you are guided by ambition and the desire of universal domination, regardless of the claims of peace and quietness and justice. At this time, Demosthenes doesn't suggest attacking Macedonia, perhaps a sign that he has come to understand your vastly superior military position. Yet it seems that people in Athenian alliance are getting ready to recognize you as an enemy, as Demosthenes urges them to do so. If he's growing afraid, perhaps he is not a complete fool. Okay, we need to get the settlers moving east. Ah, yes. I want another wife. Excuse me. All right. Rebel gladiators. The core of the defeated Thracian forces is made up of escaped gladiators, highly trained slaves and former soldiers. Pericles the Younger is the gladiators' leader, and while vulgar, he knows power when he sees it. He bows to the throne. Let us fight for you. So very well, your swords are ours. You are more valuable to us as labor, or such leadership should not be wasted. Let's take the soldiers. So fortunately, this is another city. Also, we're almost done the conquest of Thessaly, which is good. Still want to heal up the units. Now, let's deal with the rebels. I should probably be buying off the Chaonians at this point, so if we... Yeah, it's 400 wealth, but... Alright, now, normally I would want to say enough is enough, let's stop making settlers, but honestly, we need to expand. Clearly I'm taking more cities than I have settlers, so... the other thing is that we do still have a lot of training, so if I want to get units, like if I want to move units, now would not be a bad time for me to do that, so... Figure we can at least restore some of the items. Now, the reason I'm doing this tribal marriage is to see if I can get another city off of the Thessalians without having to fight for it. Start with the worker. Can finally heal the axeman. You wait. These were a freebie. That's taking advantage of Philip's special ability. I think we're strong enough with the... Nah, you know what? This is a scaredy cat move, but I'm gonna heal my archers because we've got a bit of a hike ahead of us. Now these folks are gonna head to Illyria. This is really gonna start putting some pressure on my settlers. Yeah, I kind of need to make sure that people are doing productive things. Cutting scrub is productive. I do need to figure out where I want to... I need to put some kind of expansion somewhere, so... but unfortunately so much of it costs stone, which I just don't have that much of. But we can also put down some... lumber mills. Now I don't have an infinite amount of training, so there are limits to me doing this. So like these folks, I'm not going to bother moving. I think we should be okay. Oligarch, Eurydice, the judge is fading in and out of consciousness, severely ill. Her life is clearly in peril. Okay, decisions. I'm going to put down a garrison here. Spending a little bit too much in terms of orders, just moving everyone around, but... okay, promoting you. It's not the most important thing for me to do right now, but... okay, you can go back to Sentry. You can go to sleep. I think at some point I wanted to go for a slinger, but we will build a worker first instead. This city has its worker, so we build... I could get cute and go for a settler, but that would be not smart. I mean, if I need to, I guess I can buy a bunch of stone. Actually, stone is relatively cheap. I'm going to build the forum, though. Okay, so we don't have what it takes for a garrison. Yeah, none of this really works right now. So I'm going to skip over this one. I do want to move east as much as I can with my army. So we hold off on Illyria one more season, it seems. Our vassal family appreciate the gifts that Chancellor Arte brought from you. The Chaonians sent us gifts, plus 40 opinion for 40 seasons. Okay, as always, we need to prioritize our orders, so I'm going to stay in the woods. It's where all the brave soldiers go. Now, yep, we can keep throwing those. So right now, I'm just trying to keep the city site under control. And depending how the rest of this goes, okay, you can go back to sleep. I think I'm gonna try and make something happen just putting down a mine here. Illyria's not gonna be a pushover, it turns out. The Macedonian Phalanx. As our first Phalangite enters regular service, you look on in pride at your greatest military innovation. The Phalanx is a 16 by 16 square formation in which all men are armed with a sarissa, a very long spear sharp enough to pierce enemy shields. The soldiers wear only a small shoulder shield, as they need both hands to manage the heavy sarissa. The rear rows can hold their spears at an incline to shield the formation against arrows, or else lift their spears up to obscure the vision of anything behind the phalanx. The length of the sarissas allow the front 5 rows of men to use their lowered spears to attack, rendering most enemies helpless against the 80 spear points. This innovative formation does not eliminate the need for other unit types. The phalanxes are weak in the rear and poor close-range fighters once the soldiers begin to fall, but is going to be very hard for any enemies to counter and will surely prove itself in Greece and with time beyond. Phalanx will forever be my legacy. Okay. We have, yes, space for expansion. I suppose we'll use these in Illyria when the time comes. I'm probably a little too infrastructure crazy at the moment, but 26. I gotta wrap up soon, but... Holy crap. Again, not enough orders to go around. Kind of tempted to build another one of these. Stone's short. It's actually not a bad idea for me to go for another settler for now. If I have to, I'll maybe go for more axemen. Let's take the luxuries of a gardener. And unfortunately, the main city needs to keep churning out settlers. The third Philippic, another speech by the wretched Demosthenes, spurs the citizenry of the Athenian alliance to see you as a threat to all of the Athenian alliance and Greece that they believe should exist. Demosthenes argues that you are already at war, even if no such formal declaration has been made. The people are especially roused by his claim that you had destroyed settlements in Thrace so ruthlessly that a traveler would find it hard to say whether they had ever been inhabited, and that you robbed the Thessalians of their freedoms and enslaved them tribe by tribe. Demosthenes goes on to attack the very idea of you being a Greek ruler, saying that you are not only no Greek nor related to the Greeks, but not even a barbarian from any place that can be named with honor, but a pestilent knave from Macedonia, whence it was never yet possible to buy a decent slave. With such words there can be no peace, and when time comes for your armies to march into the Athenian alliance, Demosthenes will discover that no speech can defend against a well-trained phalanx. The insults are coming from a man who has no other defense. Unfinished business. As the fighting between Macedonia and the Thracians continues, it is time for us to recognize now that the natural next step is complete Macedonian dominance in the region. Once Macedonia controls all of Greece, we will invade Persia and punish them for their transgressions. Thracians stand between us and the Persian shores of the Euxine Sea, or possibly Euxine, and they are a potential ally of Persia. Thracian lands must be conquered. We are not barbarians and do not have to erase Thracians from existence, but they must be subjugated, and any possibility of Thracians threatening us has to be eliminated. We will control Thrace. So it's the goal: capture Crendes and Eumalpius from the Thracians. Alexander's upbringing. Queen consort Olympias spends a lot of time with her son, the young Prince Alexander. Olympias has always been cold towards you, but is it plain that she loves her son dearly? Rumor has it that Alexander rarely gets to hear a kind word spoken about you. Be that as it may, even at this young age, Alexander is showing signs of being a capable heir. The boy is strong-willed, never deterred by scrapes and bruises. He enjoys listening to the Iliad and is especially fascinated by the story of Chiron, the centaur tutoring Achilles. Your marriage to Queen Consort Olympias may yet prove to be much more significant than yet another political power move. I should take time to teach Alexander some lessons personally, or Olympias may not love me, but she is capable of raising a strong child. We will teach the boy personally. And on that note, I am going to call it for tonight. I need to get some sleep, And I am happy that I got a chance to do a full duration stream, but I actually have some things that I kind of wanted to do before I went to bed tonight, but it is getting late, so we'll see. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed Old World. I'd like to kind of go back to playing this on Mondays for a while. I would really like to try and get to the end of the Macedon campaign, because I know it didn't turn out for me last time. But we'll see. But yeah, my plan is I'll try and do Old World again on Monday, and I'll try to be a little more together in terms of my restfulness and such. Well, thank you, Osmond Meow. It's always fun to hang out with you. And actually, I did enjoy the way a lot of you reacted to some of the story events. Now, I noticed that Prosciutto Fist is back playing Baldur's Gate 3, so if anything, I want to see what on earth explains this. So we're going to raid Prosciutto Fist tonight. For the rest of us, on Wednesday I'm going to be back to Phantom Brigade, and for Friday we'll be back to Cyberpunk. So for those of you here for turn-based strategy, you may like Phantom Brigade, or for those of you who are here for historical strategy, that would be Old World. But I need to get some sleep. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you have a lovely evening. Please say hello to Prosciutto Fist. Check out her stuff. She, I know, is actually trying to make a living doing this at some point, so I think it would be nice to show some support along those lines. And if nothing else, it's actually quite fun to watch her play a lot of the stuff that she does. So I'm going to try and read some of these books I got today, but I do know I have some writing to do as well. Anyways, have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.